We've all seen the smiling photos, the perfect marriage built over 50 years. But what if that legendary love was hiding something far deeper than anyone suspected? What if the true secret to a strong marriage was only revealed in a single, devastating moment, after one of them was gone? This is the story of Eleanor and George. They weren't Instagram perfect, they were granite strong. They built their life in the quiet rhythm of the suburbs, a couple whose marriage was less a passion novel and more a warm, enduring history book. George, a quiet man who built custom furniture, expressed his love through consistency. Coffee always on at 6 a.m., the squeaky back porch step always fixed the same day. Eleanor, a sharp-witted librarian, communicated through subtle corrections and fierce, quiet loyalty. They were the benchmark. Their family and friends looked at them and saw proof that lifelong love was possible. Their struggles were subtle, the slow erosion of comfort. The quiet dinners where George read the paper and Eleanor watched the news. The way they stopped debating politics and instead just agreed to disagree, not out of respect, but out of exhaustion. After 52 years, you start taking things for granted. The unspoken belief that tomorrow would be exactly like today. That sense of safety, that was their strength, and perhaps, their greatest weakness. Then came the silence. George passed away peacefully in his sleep, the kind of quiet departure that matched his personality. Eleanor was devastated, yet composed. The house felt huge, echoing with the ghost of unspoken words. She spent the first few weeks immersed in the rituals of grief, finding comfort in the routine of tidying his things. She discovered his old tools, his fishing gear, the things that were undeniably George. Until she came to his desk, the one thing he had always insisted on organizing himself. Inside his bottom desk drawer, under a layer of old receipts and spare keys, Eleanor found a small, locked, antique leather box. It was entirely unfamiliar. George had no secrets, they shared everything. Or so she thought. The box was heavy. It smelled faintly of old wood and something vaguely floral, like dried petals. Eleanor stared at the ornate brass latch. This wasn't a family heirloom. This was private. For the first time since George's passing, Eleanor felt a tremor of true fear, not just grief. Was this where the unanswered questions of their 52 years were kept? Was this the key to the quiet spaces in their marriage she could never quite reach? The box was locked, and the key wasn't there. She tried every key on his old ring. None of them fit. What was George hiding? The locked box became Eleanor's obsession. It was a tangible barrier to her peace. She drove to the locksmith, a young man who barely looked old enough to drive. He looked at the antique mechanism, shook his head, and said it would take days to pick. Eleanor didn't have days. She needed to know now. She returned home and started dismantling George's life, searching for the key. Under the floorboards of his workshop, nothing. Inside the lining of his favorite coat, just lint. The silence of the house pressed in on her, fueling a growing, chilling thought. Perhaps the love they shared wasn't as honest as she'd believed. She tried to rationalize it. Maybe it was a letter from a deceased relative. Maybe it was a small sum of money he was saving for a surprise. She tried to cling to these moments of hope, but the box felt heavy with betrayal. A few days later, while watering the large fig tree George had planted years ago, she noticed something odd. The soil around the base looked too even. Gently, Eleanor pushed the dirt aside near the roots. There, glinting faintly in the sun, was a tiny, ornate silver key. Her hands trembled as she raced inside. The key slid into the box's lock perfectly. She heard the small, definitive click, a sound that felt like the beginning and the end of her world all at once. Eleanor took a deep breath, steeling herself for the worst. The box flew open. Inside the box, there was no secret life. No hidden money. No letters from a forgotten lover. Instead, there were three things, meticulously preserved. The first was a small, tattered leather bracelet. It was a gift she'd given him on their 10th anniversary, an anniversary she had completely forgotten in a blur of young motherhood. He had never worn it. The second was a tiny slip of paper, an old receipt from a bakery. It was dated from 1978. Scrawled on the back, in George's shaky handwriting, were 3 words: "She needs space." Eleanor remembered that year. It was the year she had been overwhelmed and suggested they separate. She had been desperate for air. He never fought her. He simply stepped back. The final object was the most shattering, a thick stack of handwritten notes, dated over the last 20 years. They were all addressed to her, in private. Each note detailed a small, almost invisible moment of their life. October 14th, Eleanor laughed at my bad joke today. I wrote it down so I won't forget the sound. May 2nd, she didn't complain about the leaky faucet. I fixed it anyway. Her peace matters more than her words. December 25th, Eleanor gave me the brown sweater. She hates brown. But she knows I love the way it feels. That's love. These weren't secrets of betrayal. They were secrets of observation. George hadn't been reading the paper at dinner, he had been observing her subtle movements, storing them away. The little box wasn't a hiding place, it was a vault for appreciation. Eleanor sank onto the floor, the truth hitting her not with a shock of betrayal, but with a wave of profound, overwhelming love. The quiet, predictable man hadn't been checked out. He had been present in a way she never understood. He had kept his most cherished love letters private because they were about her, her actions, her needs, her laughter, and he didn't need validation for his love. He just needed to remember it. In the days that followed, the small, locked box became Eleanor's new ritual. She would open it and read a note, learning her late husband's language of devotion. She realized their silence wasn't emptiness. It was a mutually assumed certainty. She finally understood the secret of their strong marriage: George loved her for who she was, not for what she gave back. He never demanded attention or validation. He simply observed and appreciated. His secret wasn't a flaw, it was a lesson in selfless presence. Eleanor didn't just grieve the man she lost, she gained a profound, new understanding of the man she had lived with. She started writing her own notes now, recording the moments of beauty she noticed in the world, a quiet tribute to the man who taught her the difference between seeing and truly observing. The heavy silence of the house didn't feel empty anymore, it felt full of intentional quiet. The lesson from Eleanor and George isn't about grand gestures. It's about this. The most powerful intimacy often happens in the silence. We get so caught up in demanding validation and loudly communicating our needs that we forget the power of quiet observation. The secret to a strong marriage is often found not in the things we say, but in the small, beautiful details our partner notices and decides to cherish in secret. Don't mistake a lack of drama for a lack of love. Sometimes, the deepest devotion is simply being present enough to remember the sound of their laughter. If you had found that box, what do you think you would have been most afraid of finding inside? Let me know in the comments below. And be sure to hit subscribe for more stories of quiet strength and enduring love.